and welcome to the final week of the Six Nations of Beer. That's right, we are finally at the last week of this competition and there is still an awful lot to play for. And in this week's round we have Scotland versus Italy, Ireland versus England and France v Wales. Match 1 is IPA versus IPA. Round 2 is a Stout off and we could not include the original Guinness in a Six Nations competition. And then finally, for the final match of the whole competition, we have a wheat beer versus a craft lager. Just before we get into round 1, let's take a look at the scores from last time. Scotland's miserable defeat to Ireland has done more to put England back into first place than England's draw to France ever could have. Italy currently ranks second, with Ireland, Wales and Scotland all tied on 11, but Ireland leading Wales, leading Scotland due to the points differences, and France now sat at the bottom of the table with 10 points. As always, scoring will be marked on design, appearance, smell and aroma, texture and mouthfeel and taste. I'll go through the points available for each of those criteria as we go through them. Just before we break into these, a little bit about each beer. Scotland's entry is from Williams Brothers. It's called Brel, a Belgian style IPA, so a bit of a Belgian IPA hybrid, I suspect. It says a Belgian style IPA featuring a complex hoppy profile and an underlying fruity character of coriander and orange peel. Now, I have had this before and I know that I like this, which is interesting because I hate coriander. At least in food, I'm one of those people who genetically just taste dish soap when I have it, but I don't dislike soapy beers or metally beers, which is kind of what coriander tastes like to me, so maybe it just works in not the way they intended. This beer is 5.7% by volume and is 1.9 UK units for this 330ml can. And then, Dammen IPA. Dammen IPA is from Birradamare. We had a couple of their other beers earlier in this competition. The English translation on this reads, light and bitter ale with nose full of herbs and flowers and delicate malty tones. It goes well with heavy dishes, with vegetal or spicy flavours. I do like their translations. As well as aged cheeses, including spicy ones. Spicy cheeses, I guess there are some. It's great with strongly flavoured red and white pizzas. Again, they like their red and white pizza. I think that means margarita, but, you know. With sausage or salami and vegetables. Okay, basically it's good with food, is what I'm reading from the Italians. 5% by volume and is also 330ml bottle. Before we crack in, let's take a look at design. Here is the Williams Brothers can for you. Very traditional Williams Bros, but it's very modern. Nothing offensive. Arguably nothing outstanding, but it's far from dull. Some nice shiny reflective print work on there. Very good. And then Dammen IPA. I mean, it's a strong and interesting look. It's certainly not to everyone's taste, I would imagine, but it's an interesting piece of artwork and they are trying something different, for which I think they should probably be awarded, but you know what, for me, no, I am. I'm going to give it to the Dammen IPA, but only just, so that's 3 points to Italy to start. Right, let's get pouring. A nice, rich, almost ruby beer, that one from Williams Bros. The Dammen IPA, much lighter, more what I'd consider an IPA style to look like. Obviously the Belgian influence on here is probably impacting the colour a bit. Let's take a look. Head dissipating pretty quickly. Nice carbonation. Not too strong, but enough for it to be kind of truly an IPA style. Very clear. Now, interestingly, Williams Brothers stood in for Scotland last week, and well, they lost them an awful lot of points. However, as I already said, I do like this beer, so I hope that should not be the case today. But is it enough to win back what they lost last time out? The Dammen IPA is a touch hazier, a bit less carbonation, head dissipating. There are 2 penalties available for appearance. This is arguably more in keeping with the style of beer. This has a bit more clarity, maybe a little bit less craft, given the haze. I personally generally am drawn more towards darker beers, so I think I'm going to split the difference. 3 points each. Right, smell and aroma. Very slightly fruity, metallic, which I suspect is the coriander that other people will probably find to be a different smell. Tiny bit hoppy on the nose, but otherwise not a huge amount going on. But it does smell appealing, so nothing negative. That's instantly more traditional IPA. Sweet, hoppy, bit of grapefruit, citrus. There are 3 tries available for smell and aroma. This smells just more. It's fresher, it's fruitier, it's more appealing. As much as I like this style of beer, I think that one has to take it on the aroma front, but this is not bad. So there are 3 tries available. I'm going to give 2 tries to Italy, 1 try to Scotland, and both will receive 1 conversion. So if my maths is correct, that's Italy taking a quick lead with 18 points to Scotland's 10. We are on to texture and mouthfeel. It's touch thin but not overly. It's not very carbonated in the mouth at all. It's actually feeling quite flat now. There's nothing offensive about the texture and mouthfeel of it. There's just nothing immaculate about it either. It's nice. Similar, but it's a bit thicker, it's a little creamier. Not much, we're talking minute amounts, but it just makes for a more full-bodied, richer experience. So again, Italy is taking the lead, but by only just. 2 tries are available here. As a result, given that it's minute, a try each, but only a conversion to Italy. Now, we're on to the big one, the taste test. It's rich, malty. I'm getting the metallic from the coriander, but obviously that won't be the same for everyone. Slightly sweet, not too bitter finish. The more you drink of this, the more you appreciate it becoming quite a low-key but well-rounded beer. Yeah, it's solid, and I knew that because I drink this fairly regularly anyway. Right, the Dammen IPA. If you've been watching the channel, you know I tried Sierra Nevada Pale Ale for the first time this week. This is not unreminiscent of that. The initial taste is quite bitter, followed by a huge explosion of juicy grapefruit, tropical kind of things. And then you get a much more bitter note on the back of the tongue, and then it trails off. The middle of this, the juicy grapefruity bit, is incredible. It's not the juiciest beer in the world by any means, but it's really nice, not overkill, not too much. But I have to say it's not as good as the Sierra Nevada. And because it goes bitter, sweet fruity, bitter, lingering, bitter taste afterwards, I don't think it's as good as that. The first few mouthfuls of this are quite, wow, that's incredible, this is not, you know, but once you become attuned to it, once your mouth's become used to those intense citrus tastes, you notice the mild bitterness at the start, which isn't bad, it's just maybe not quite ideal for this type of beer. And then the amazing mid-ground, but that becomes dulled the more you drink, and then you really start to notice the very bitter aftertaste, which for me, personally, is not what I want from this type of brew. 5 tries are available. This is not a bad beer, it just falls short in a few areas, so I don't want to gulf the gap too much here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Italy 2 tries, but neither will be converted. Scotland is going to get the remaining 3 tries, but only 1 is going to be converted because it is a very good, stable beer that you can rely on. It's not going to change your world, probably. And if my quick math is correct, only a 2 points difference, and I think that's probably fair. I enjoyed this much more as a taste experience. This I feel has more subtleties, a bit more going on, but maybe not executed absolutely perfectly. So overall, I'm pretty happy with that scoreline. That's everything for this round, and we're on to match 2. It's time for the Stout off in match 2. Ireland versus England. Ireland being behoved by the one and only Guinness original in the draft can. And from England, one of my favourite local breweries, Guerrilla Black Stout from Blue Monkey Brewery. Whilst these are both stouts, they're actually pretty different. Obviously, there's absolutely no need to read into the Guinness can. Everybody knows what it is, where it's from, and what it's about. It is the quintessential stout, and There's not really a lot more to say about it. Guerrilla from Blue Monkey though probably does need a bit more of an introduction. On the bottle it says Guerrilla Black Stout, our award-winning revolutionary stout, a hearty 4.9% pitch black beer full of malty complexity balanced by a robust bitter bite, brewed and bottled in the UK. Blue Monkey was born in 2008 on the border of Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire. Taking the beer world by storm, Blue Monkey has gained a powerful reputation for brewing award-winning ales. That they have. They do a few varieties of these. They do a chocolate and orange, a vanilla, a chocolate and amaretto, lots of different and exciting versions. They've done a whiskey cask in the past. It is a fantastic base for flavoured stouts, and the regular one is also pretty sensational. So, just before we get into opening these up, let's take a look at design. Now, Guinness going for the just absolute classic approach. Blue Monkey with their signature 8 motif. This one seems to be in a Che Guevara hat for some reason. Let's be honest, it's going to Blue Monkey. It's such a local iconic beer mascot that I can't not give the points to Blue Monkey. So off the bat, that's 3 points to England. Just before we crack these open, I can see you in the camera there. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, is this man really going to pour a Guinness into this small, stubby, half-pint beer festival glass? No, he's not. I wouldn't do it, and it's the only beer in the competition I'm willing to make an exception for, but it can only go in the real deal. So this one time only, we're going to give an advantage to one team with their own glass. That said, these are Nottingham Beer Festival glasses, and Blue Monkey Brewery are always one of the most well-received brewers at the Nottingham Beer Festival. Their stuff tastes amazing in these glasses, so that isn't really an unfair advantage anyway. Let's get these open. I'm going to start with the Guinness because it needs time to pour. The best way to get Guinness out of one of these draft cans is to get it out as quickly as possible, all in one go, and let it do its stuff. While that's settling, let's get into the Guerrilla. Blue Monkey with a solid small bubble, one finger off-white head. Guinness, I mean, we know how this is going to look, right? Jet black body, nice creamy head. A bit thicker at this point than the Blue Monkey one, although there's obviously more volume in this glass. Okay, I think that's enough time to make a judgment on the appearance. There are 2 penalties available for it, and I'm sorry, my oh-so-favourite Blue Monkey, but the allure of a well-poured pint of Guinness, which, I'll be honest, that doesn't look too bad if I do say so myself, for out of a can, just takes it. That extra deep head, we know it's going to be silky smooth. It's just so tempting. 2 penalties to Ireland. Right then, smell and aroma. It's kind of got a wheaty cereal, shreddies, then with a bit more malt and it's just seriously wheaty, cereally goodness there. It's a great aroma profile. It's the only beer in this competition that smells anything like that. It's really quite unique. I've never actively just taken in the aroma of a Guinness before. It smells metallic. I mean, I knew that, but I never knew that that's all it smelled like. It really is just irony. To quote a great film, full of iron, that is. So, with that in mind, there are 3 trials available for smell and aroma. I don't hate the smell of Guinness, but it's not exciting. This has got a lot more going on. So, I'm going to split the tries 2 and 1, but to be honest, Guinness I don't think really deserves a conversion. So it's 5 points to Ireland and the full 14 to England. Right, texture and mouthfeel. I'm going to start with the quintessential. There really is something oh so satisfying about well-poured Guinness. Creamy head, slightly thinner body, goes down really easily. I think it's a little thinner than everyone thinks it is. It has its reputation of being quite full-bodied. Maybe more so on tap, but in this can form, it's certainly not the thickest brew ever, but it's a solid middleweight Blue Monkey Guerrilla. I actually think that's a little thinner than the Guinness. It has more natural carbonation, because the Guinness is pitch flat. There's a bit of natural carbonation that triggers some flavours going around the mouth. And it's a little prickly as a result when you swallow it, but it's silky smooth otherwise. But on the texture and mouthfeel front, I think Guinness take the lead on that one. I think the gap is big enough to award both of the tries that are available for texture and mouthfeel to Guinness. And it is such a familiar, iconic feel that I think I'm going to have to give them the full 14 points. So, heading into the final big taste test. Ireland are leading 25-17, if my math is correct, but there's still an awful lot to play for. So, super smooth, very creamy, almost vanilla, but not quite there. Followed by that very typical iron metallic finish. Guinness actually doesn't taste of it an awful lot when poured well. It's almost very good when there isn't much flavour in it, which is not something I'd ever thought about before, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. But it's satisfying, everything in there is very subtle, there's no coffee note to it really whatsoever. There's a tiny bit of, it feels like it's getting a touch vanilla-y, but I'm not really sure it's true. I think it's just the sensation of the creaminess of the head. And then that very clean, hyper clean, because obviously they make, I don't know how much a year, it's astronomical volumes of this stuff. So it is all exceptionally clean. And I like that, but it's not blowing me away. Initially it's chocolatey, more raw chocolate cacao nib rather than a chocolate stout. In the middle it feels kind of a similar level of vanilla-ish to the Guinness, but I think it's more pronounced in this because it's not relying on the creaminess of it to carry that idea of vanilla. I think there's actually a touch of it in there. And then the finish is that malty, cereal, biscuit kind of blend that you get on the nose. The malts are much stronger, heavily toasted in the taste, and then it finishes out with that Shreddies wheat cereal thing at the end. As I said, although both stouts, both pretty different, this has an exceptional flavour profile to it that really, if you sit and pay attention, is very enjoyable. I think if you're not paying attention, this is an easier drink. If you are paying attention, this will blow you away. And ultimately, this is a test about taste, and the Guinness doesn't taste of much. This tastes of an awful lot, and each element, if you sit and digest it, are fantastic. As a result, there are 5 tries available, and I don't hate the Guinness by any means. I drink it quite a lot, to be honest, but it just doesn't have a lot of taste. But equally, there is absolutely nothing bad about it. As a result, 3 tries, all of which are converted to Blue Monkey, and 2 tries, neither of which are converted to Guinness. It's worth 2 tries, but there's nothing special enough to give it those extra conversion points. Which means this second match in the final week, England take the win by a mere 3 points. Ireland 35, England 38. Now, the final match of the entire series. Let's go. And we're straight into match 3, which will probably be the main decider in the real Six Nations. It is France versus Wales. This time we've got 2 fairly different beers. They're both on the paler side of the spectrum, but this Meteor Blanche, it is described as a light and refreshing wheat beer brewed with barley, wheat malt. This cloudy beer will surprise you with its spicy and citrusy notes and its light bitterness. And for Wales, the third in this competition from Mad Dog Brewing Co. This one is their craft Pilsner Lager. It's described as a blend of fresh, crisp Welsh water combined with the hops from the Bohemia region of the Czech Republic, balanced with British malts that gives Born Sippy its thirst-quenching crisp finish. Born Sippy, it's a great name, it's a great looking can. It is can conditioned, so I don't want to throw that around too much. So before we break these open, we need to look at design. I mean, I'll give you a look at each, but I suspect you probably know where this one is going. And it will be of little surprise that 3 points right out of the gate goes to Wales for Mad Dog Brewing Co. Again, another fantastic looking can design. So, let's get them open. I'm getting some aromas off that already, and it's starting to smell pretty good. Okay, so there's 2 penalties available for appearance. These are both looking pretty flat, if I'm honest. I was definitely hoping for more fizz and more going on from the craft lager. The wheat beer is pretty typical, although a bit more head would have been nice. There is, it looks like there's a lot of carbonation bubbles on that, but nothing really rising to the surface. Maybe once we start drinking it, that will come to life. And this hazy, dishwater looking number. 2 penalties available. I'll be honest, neither are rocking my world visually, so I think it's fair to say 1 penalty each. So Wales still lead by 3 points, and that puts us on smell and aroma. 3 tries are available. It's got a bit of that typical wheat beer nasally manifestation, but some brighter notes as well. I mean, it's always very easy to compare wheat beers to kind of dishwater with the lemon detergent, but it smells pretty appealing. I do want to drink that. It has got some nice citrus notes, and it's not, doesn't feel like it's going to be too much either. Getting a bit of the hops, a bit of the malt, kind of that typical lager kind of hop. It doesn't smell bad, it smells very nice, and just not particularly exciting. This smells a touch better, but they're pretty even. 3 tries are available. I'm going to give them just 1 try each, but the conversion to France. So that keeps Wales in the lead, but now only by 1 point going into texture and mouthfeel. I think I'm going to go this side first. It is still very flat, but it's got a nice, silky, smooth. Somehow it's both kind of thin and quite satisfying, which is not normally the case. So yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Much more carbonation. Similar thickness. Less silky to swallow. Slightly more jarring, slightly more drying. Really, the initial mouthfeel of this is better. The end of this is better. Yeah, there's not much in it. There's only 2 tries available, and to be honest, they're both pretty good. There's things I'd like to improve on both of them, but not enough for me not to award full points. So I'm just going to say a converted try each, 7 and 7. Right, the taste test. For the last time in the 2021 Six Nations of Beer. What to this side first? Initially, the bubbles are a bit prickly. Then the nice lemony, citrusy. It almost feels like a sorbet in the middle. It's that kind of refreshing but not too powerful thing. Then the end's just a bit dry, a fraction bitter, but I mean, it's hardly there. It's a nice, refreshing all-rounder. Pretty good entry to wheat beer, to be honest. It's not offensive in any way. Tastes pretty clean. I'm enjoying it. It's nice. I'd have it again. It's not changing my world. So it's very difficult not to notice how flat this is for a lager, for a pilsner, whatever it's meant to be. That is instantly a bit of a put off. It almost feels like lager that's been left out. Let me see what it says on the can. It says colour is straw golden, aroma is you be the judge, taste is make your own mind up, and perfect with your own choice. Okay, that's interesting. All of their other beers had kind of useful tasting and accompanying notes. This one they've said it's down to you. This has the familiarity of a lager, some of the mouthfeel of kind of a thinner Belgian style. The taste is nothing, really not a lot, followed by some sweet, very familiar, very easy to drink, just generic beer is the best way I can really describe it. There's nothing standing out or particularly potent. It's maybe a touch piney, yeah, really not a lot, but also it's very nice. I'm enjoying drinking it. I don't know that for the style. I kind of almost wish they'd call it something else. I mean, it's so flat. Look at it. So 5 tries available here, and we're currently at 17, 18. So really, whoever wins this, unless we go even, there's really nothing in the points. There's not a lot in the taste, which I think is fair. I don't think I'll be going out all 5 tries, and I think this has a slightly better all-round taste. It's just, it has something at the start, in the middle and the end. It's pretty well put together. It's overall enjoyable. That lager is nice a bit in the middle. There's not much at the start and not much at the end, so it just loses out on that it maybe isn't quite flavourful enough. It's very nice, but I think this has got flavour all the way through and it's not jarring. As a result, I want to give them 2 tries each, but 2 bonus points to France and none to Wales. And if my quick maths is correct, in this final match, that leaves us with 31-28 to France. France just pipping it, but only just. Right, with all that in mind, let's take a look at the final scores. After the final round of this competition, England retained the top spot, extending their lead to 18 points. Italy possibly the most surprising result on the table in second place with 17 points, just one behind the winners. A surprising low-key but consistent set of beers from them helped them muscle through where others fell over. France in third with 14th points, and Ireland, Wales and Scotland all tied on 12, but Ireland head Wales, head Scotland due to their points difference. Before this competition, I would have said the favourites were either England or Scotland, so interesting to see one of those at the top of the table and the other right at the bottom. I think that one round last week where Scotland really fell short really hit them hard. Just taking a minute to consider whether this competition was fair or not, obviously the access to English beers was easier. As a result, they got the more selected picks, although I try not to go with anything too out there. But that being said, Italy and France had the most limited selection of beers available and they came in second and third, so maybe it's not quite a straightforward conclusion. And that's everything from the 2021 Six Nations of Beer. If you enjoyed this series, please let me know and I'll bring it back next year. If you didn't, well, maybe we'll never see the light of day again. But I had a great time trying 6 beers every week for 5 weekends, and hopefully it will return in the future. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.